Hi, my name is Anahit and I'm a violin and viola instructor at Breast Bell. Today I'm going to show you how to tighten your bow, how to rosin your bow, and how to loosen your bow. So first we need to learn the anatomy of the bow. So this is the stick of the bow. It's usually made out of wood or fiberglass. This is the horsehair of the bow. And it's really important not to touch the horsehair with our hands because we don't want to transfer the oils from our hands onto the horsehair. We also don't want the rosin, the sticky rosin, to come off the horsehair onto our hands. So avoid touching the horsehair. We also have the frog, this black part here, and we have the pin, which we turn to tighten and loosen the bow. We have some silver wrapping or a leather wrapping or maybe even a rubber wrapping located on the stick here. And finally, we have the tip of the bow. So the first thing you want to do is tighten your bow. So you're going to hold the bow in your hands with the horsehair up and the stick down. And I'm going to hold the bow, the frog portion, in my left hand, and I'm going to turn the pin away from me to tighten the horsehair. So you don't want to over tighten because then you can break the bow, but I've tightened it so that it's pretty taut. And I know I'm breaking a rule and touching the horsehair for this example, but you want it to be about this tight. So next, what I'm going to do is hold the bow, just as if I was bowing on my instrument, and I'm going to take my rosin and apply it to the bow. So what is rosin, you may ask? Rosin is a solid form of tree sap, and so it's made out of trees. It smells a little bit like a tree, and it's sticky to the touch. What it does is when applied to the horsehair of the bow, it helps grab the string when you bow across the string. That produces a more vibrant sound. So that's what rosin is for. And we want to make sure that we apply the rosin before every practice. There's different types of rosin. There's light rosin, dark rosin. Some rosin comes in a cloth wrapping like this. Some come encased in plastic or wood, but what's important is to always make sure that you're handling the rosin with that case or wrapping and never the actual rosin itself, because again, we don't want to transfer our oils onto the rosin, nor do we want the rosin on our fingers. Rosin is also very fragile, so if I were to drop it, it would break. That's why it's important to always protect it, handle it carefully, and wrap it when you're done using it. So when you first purchase rosin, you want to make sure you scrape up the surface. The surface is shiny and smooth when you first get it, but you want to take something like a house key and scratch up the surface so it looks something like this. That way, the powder will come off onto your bow much easier than if it were smooth. So you might see a white powder on your fingers if you were to touch it after it's been scraped up, and that's what we're looking for. So holding the rosin in my left hand, I'm going to hold the bow just as if I were bowing, and I'm going to start at the bottom of the horsehair and bow all the way to the frog and back in smooth motions to apply the rosin. So eventually, when you do this enough, you'll start getting a groove in your rosin, and that makes it easier for the rosin to follow, or excuse me, the bow to follow the rosin. So eventually, when you rosin your bow enough, you'll start forming a divot in the rosin, and that's totally normal. It makes it easier for the bow to fit into the rosin. So that's absolutely normal. And that is it for rosining. You might also want to watch the video on how to clean your instrument from the rosin dust, because this stuff does get on your instrument as well as the stick of your bow, and it builds up over time. As you can see, it's very sticky, so you want to make sure you clean your instrument from the rosin dust. So lastly, we need to learn how to loosen our bow. And that's similar to how we tighten our bow, except this time we turn the pin towards us until the horsehair is touching the stick of the bow. And then we can store the bow in our case for next time. So we always want to make sure we loosen the bow after practicing. And as you can see, there's a frown on the curve of the bow. We always want to see that frown even when it's tight. If you ever see your bow straight or smiling at you, then you've tightened too much and you could break your bow that way. So make sure that you don't over tighten by looking for that frown. The last thing I want to mention is sometimes your horsehair might come out. So you can see that there's a hair here that broke off from the tip of the bow, and that's absolutely normal. All you want to do is just grab it from the base and pull, and then you can dispose of that extra hair, and eventually enough hair falls out that you need to get your bow hair replaced, and that's an annual thing for most players. So make sure that you consider getting your bow rehaired once a year. I hope you found this video helpful, and as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us at Brass Bell. Thanks.